Hello everyone. This is Metalia. It's been a long time. Well, I should probably say not happy New Year because it's already the quarter turn of 2025. So I should say happy Easter. Easter Saturday for those of you who are in Australia. Happy Easter Friday for those of you who are in other countries in Southeast Asia or other countries, as well as the USA. And happy Easter Sunday to those of you who are in the UK and other countries as well. Ironically, my birthday actually fall on Easter Saturday, which is today. So I'm turning 25 today. Oh well, I don't know. I've reached a quarter of the century. Of so my friend said, or the quarter, well, of like my life, I guess. And I don't know how to feel about that, honestly. Like, I just feel like I still have a similar kind of identity crisis as I did when I was like in my late teens or early 20s. Um, well, I mean, I'll elaborate on that later on, but yeah. So I finally decided to upload a video today just to outline what happened. My long hiatus, obviously, um, which was due to just a lot of things, that has been happening in the last few months. So I just finished my studies in the Masters of Teaching for Early Childhood and Primary last year, and I'm gonna have my graduation ceremony like next month. So it's quite a few things, and I'm just undergoing a period of transition, really, which was what led to my hiatus on YouTube. Um, Honestly, I don't know where to begin. Like, I am still to some degree in touch, reading philosophy, history, and politics. So I think in recent days I have been more into like politics and history, so much more than philosophy, I believe. Um, just because I feel like it is easier to follow for me, like mentally. Like I am mainly interested in like these days World War II history, something to do with well, the Sino Soviet, Sino Soviet, Sino Japanese, yeah, like wars, um, and I actually have like a big almanac. Let me just grab it for a second. Um, yeah, so here is the big book that I have been just skimming through. Haven't actually read the whole thing yet because it's quite um as you can see, it's like a big encyclopedia. So obviously that's a picture of Churchill, well, you might have opinions that are contradictory to his beliefs, or you might be sympathetic. Who knows? But anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that I've been reading this bit where was this? It's a bit hard to find. Oh, there we go. Um, well, I'll actually dedicate another video where I will just go through this book with you guys. But at the moment, I just want to show you the part where I read a few days ago. It's just the bit about where, um, there was a point in history where like the Americans were giving aid to China, whether that is through um, like sending aircrafts to help China against to fight against Imperial Japan. And I was also reading the bit about the liberation of Burma, where um, troops from India, Africa, where else, like the UK And yeah, other countries, in Asia, they were, I think, yeah, they contributed to the war in a sense. Well, it's quite a big read. I can't find it right now, but anyway, the point is that besides this book that I've been skimming through, um I just want to talk about like how I feel about the philosophy groups that I used to attend in the past. So, like how I used to be like really active joining the some of the groups that I used to go to online in Zoom. I used to be active in those groups, like philosophy discussion groups, during the lockdown. But a lot of things have changed. A lot of things have changed because I feel like there is a shift in my values and just character, and what I am actually looking for in these groups. I feel like to some degree, not all of the groups that I go to actually serve me. And I mean, look, anyone can just make a YouTube video of this and upload it online. Like you know, 100 people can tell you why philosophy is good, but there's also more people who tell you why it's bad. But in my case, I'm not trying to take sides. I'm just trying to give like a my own perspective, what I think and how I feel about attending these groups. Um the last time that I was in one group, it was like a Melbourne based group. I gave a talk on Oswald Spengler and also on the contemporary Christian vision of humanity, if you've seen my last video a few months ago. There's definitely potential I feel in those talks where I can network with many people and actually, form friendships and stuff, perhaps. But there has just been so much going on in my life right now. It has to do with my degree as well, my social life. Um, I'm just gonna straight up say that my university, it's like really liberal, like people are very progressively minded. And I noticed that some of the things that I study, like history, and also the talks that I've been, given about history, obviously the history of the Bible a little bit, like what's in Genesis 1 to 11 in the contemporary, sorry, I mean like in that talk that I gave a few months ago. And also in Oswald Spengler, that has to do with history as well, right? Because it involves the context of, Hitler's regime and how that shaped Spengler's view on humanity. He's talking about how Western culture has reached its decline and stuff. So, well, I just wanted to give you a context on, that leading up to my feelings of sort of feeling like feeling overwhelmed by it all. I feel I just feel like when I was studying at ACU, the Masters of Teaching, the very premise of teaching and education is progressive, right? And there were some subjects I studied which sort of contradicted whatever that I sympathize with, like history. Obviously, I study a bit of more Western history than I do like any other history. I'm trying to look into the history of China right now, actually, because I just understanding like my ancestors' heritage and stuff. Um, well, yeah. So it's a lot for me to unpack mentally. So I just feel that I couldn't really um understand or even pick out a topic that I feel comfortable talking in YouTube and just upload it like I used to. I used to be a bit braver, but also at the same time more naive in uploading my content just because just because I felt that I could go somewhere, you know. But now that I'm older, I feel like I want to be a bit more specific in my audience and the expectations that they have of me as well, as a YouTuber in uploading, yeah, intellectual content. I don't want to just upload videos about, well, let's say aboriginal histories studies, you know, without really um considering whether that's something the audience wants, you know. And like, I don't even know who my audience is. Like, there could be people who are not even familiar or don't even know what aboriginal culture is, like, you know, people anywhere in the world. Like, when I first came to Australia, I mean, I didn't even know what Wurundjeri country is. You know, it's just the terms, um or the places that aboriginal people use to describe their land of dwelling. They call it country. Not to say it's kind of different to like country as in, you know, America or Japan, Australia. Yeah, but in this sense, um I feel like whatever I have studied in ACU just didn't really seem to intertwine with what I have been studying before, theology, um, and yeah, like World War II history, Oswald Spengler. And not to say that I neglect all of that. I mean, obviously, like the reason why I come back again to study World War II history after the long hiatus, it's just a sign that there's a part of me that actually values history. As in, I don't value the violence, of course. I mean, there's a lot of atrocities that took place in history, but it's more about like the relationships between people, you know, at the time, how they interact with one another in a different kind of environment than me. And that's something that I didn't quite learn when I was doing the course, of course. I mean, like when I did the Aboriginal studies, the teacher would tell us, like, you know, what Aboriginal people, you know, what their culture was like, you know, how they were like different countries have different customs. And um yeah, she would also like narrate the storybook, you know, their stories from a picture book, you know, and that. But it's kind of conflicting to me because, like, when I did my studies, at the same time, she was also saying how, like, you know, the Western colonial education system has affected the way we view people who have been, yeah, you know, like marginalized. Okay, I don't want to go too deep on this because it's really a touchy topic. But yeah, you know what my point is. Like, I just feel like what she said, that very thing that she said, you know, colonial, there's a sort of a negative connotation to it, which is kind of, it sort of impacts me a little bit actually, because I was raised, you know, I went to a school where I had to speak English all the time. Well, we did speak Indonesian and Mandarin, but only during like Mandarin and Indonesian classes. That's pretty much it. So you could say that, well, I went to Christian schools, of course. And yeah, I probably am a product of the colonial system myself, you know. But I'm just not like local Australian, you know. I was born in Indonesia and I just adopt this accent where people think I'm American, but I'm not. You know. So it has been, yeah, a bit of a journey, more like an intellectual journey as well for me. It's about challenging my own views and other people's views. But like, I'm not really a very confrontational kind of person. I mean, if something really crossed me or if somebody crosses me, I would tell them, but like I wouldn't, I'm not usually that outspoken, as in like if I disagree with somebody's views, I would sort of just like be the type of person to you know, like sort of be silent about it. But like I might, like, yeah, I'll disagree, but like I won't verbalize it immediately, you know. And I think that's a cultural thing, like where I'm raised, you know, like I was taught like, you know, I have to be careful with what I'm saying in public, just because, just because like it might be misused or something. So anyway, like that was part of the reason why I feel like whatever I've studied in a sense doesn't really align with what I just studied. Like I mean like theology. I didn't even have a subject in my master's where I studied theology or anything to do with religion. It's mostly literacy, numeracy, science, just your basic stuff. And that's fine. But then like we had humanities. I had humanities and yeah, Aboriginal studies. And I think like these two subjects, it feels political rather than like dealing with facts. It's more about values rather than facts. So yeah, that was when I felt like, oh, you know, if I read like World War II history or like Auschwitz Spengler or Nietzsche or anything that is like classically Western, while I'm studying in the Masters of Education, um, it's yeah, it doesn't make me feel good. It just didn't really make me feel comfortable at the time. At that time, okay. But like now that that's done, I have more time to myself, and I actually can, yeah, I can explore a bit more. I'm actually trying to go back to art again. If you see the painting here, I actually drew this, but not that one. That one is an artist. I think his name is Zach Duke. Gonna quote him maybe on Instagram. He has an Instagram. He's really good. And yeah, this was a long time ago. Like I really like using like yellow and brown as my base color, like when I drew digital art. But yeah, I'm an artist. I feel like I like philosophizing. I also like reading history and politics. But at the same time, I'm an artist. Like I'm not trying to brag, but like I like looking. I like reading between the lines and just sort of observing people and nature more than I do like criticizing them in a sense. And I think like when I attended the philosophy meetings, I feel like I have to be really sort of objective and like I just feel like I have to use my left brain more than my right brain. So I think like as an artist, I feel like that's just not totally me. Like at the same time, my right brain is sort of like telling me that I have to get out there, be creative, meet people. And of course, like you meet generally, like, in Melbourne at least, like people who are more artistically minded are generally more progressive. But of course, there are artists who are conservatives as well. I mean, I can be an artist and I can draw like stuff related to history. Just because I'm an artist, it doesn't make me like progressive or conservative. It really depends on my personality, my values, what I believe in the end of the day. So yeah, anyway, that's just a little bit, of my mini dilemma, I guess. Um People might think I'm weird by saying all this, but people might think that I'm just overthinking, but I am a bit of an overthinker anyway. I mean, if you're a philosopher and an artist, you tend to overthink when you don't really have to, I suppose. Um, and yeah, I just have to find the balance, a balance in being objective, but also at the same time following what's authentic to me. So yeah, that's all. Thank you for listening to me. I don't want to keep this video longer than 19 or 20 minutes. So you'll see more of my uploads next. Look forward to it. Bye.